Hi, friend. What's up? So, this is my very first episode I am recording in Chicago. If you're watching this on YouTube, then my background is different. And if you're listening, ain't nothing changed. It's the same. Welcome back to the pod. I moved to Chicago, if you did not know, 2 days ago. I am recording this on October the 6th. What day is it? Where am I? You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to still show up here on this podcast, come hell or high water, and it's literally raining outside, to help you with your end of year fundraising plans. So, this is part 2 of a little mini series inside of season 7. If you didn't listen to the workshop replay that I did on end of year fundraising strategy and tactics, go back to the previous episode and listen to that. It's good. It's like almost an hour. And I share with you how I think about setting goals, meeting them, what tactics I use, and my entire roadmap. So you're going to want to check that out. So I'm here in Chicago and I'm ready to dive in and help you with your end of year checklist. So here are three practices, three habits, you could say, that really help me in the rush and the go time of end of year fundraising, particularly when it comes to major gifts, that I think are really going to help you. And let's just jump in. The first is number one, the first 60. The first 60 minutes of your day are what I reserve for major gifts outreach. If you continually wait until everything else is done to do outreach, no wonder you're not getting it done. If you say that fundraising is a top priority, then it needs to be the top of your list. I spend the first 60 minutes doing donor outreach. So I'm looking at who am I going to be asking in the upcoming quarter? Who am I going to be doing stewardship for? And going down my list and doing the next step for that donor. So if it's asking for a meeting, if it's reporting back on the difference that their gift made, if a gift just came in the last 24 hours, I'm picking up the phone and calling them and thanking them personally. You may already have thank yous automated. That's great. The data shows us that automated thank yous that are digital are not sufficient to retain donors. So the first 24 hours of a gift are huge for retention. So if you want to improve retention, I would suggest changing that one thing. Do it in the first 60. The first 60 will help you feel so accomplished for the rest of the day. At least you got that out of the way. It's done. Check. First 60 minutes of the day, I am doing donor outreach. I am following up with donors. And what does this mean? My colleagues can wait for 60 minutes. Because why? If I am not responding to my coworkers' Slack messages, if I am not answering internal emails, if I am not attending internal meetings, then I have time to raise money. Then I have time to meet with donors, to ask for meetings, to plan what my objective is going to be for an upcoming meeting. You need that time. And your coworkers can wait an hour for you to raise money to pay their salaries. Let's just get to it. If you don't do this critical work, what will happen? I am getting really heartbreaking messages from folks who are like, if I don't get money in the next 24 hours, I'm going to have to close my doors. These are critical times. And I don't even know why I need to remind folks of that. Do it in the first 60 minutes. I front load donor outreach on Mondays and Tuesdays. It doesn't mean that that's when you need to get it done. It means that that's when it needs to get sent. For example, work when you like to work. If you like to work in the evenings after your kids go to bed, then write all of your donor emails and schedule them to be sent in the morning, particularly in Monday and Tuesday. Why? Because you have the entire week to hear back from them. If you're emailing donors at the end of the week, then it's going to be less likely to be read and you will not get a response within the same week. If you email them on Monday and Tuesday, if you text them, DM them, call, whatever it is, you have 5 business days to hear back. So you could hear back within 1 week. It's really simple. It's really basic. It makes a big difference, particularly in the end of year when you need to get responses quicker. So first 60, front load donor outreach in the first hour of the day on Monday and Tuesday. Then you get time to respond and you can answer them back. You're going to get more responses that way. The next tip is, this has to do with time management. Ruthless time management. Here is my North Star, my fundraising goal. If my fundraising goal is $500,000 in the next 3 months, October, November, December, then the question that I ask myself when I look at my calendar and when my time is demanded, when there are demands on my time, the number one question I'm asking is, will this help me to reach my goal of $500,000 raised? If the answer is no, then I excuse myself from that obligation. I mean this when I say it, and I've done it over and over and over again. And folks tell me all the time, I just don't have enough time. I just don't have enough time. The truth is that you know what it takes to raise money and what it actually requires beyond doing the thing, right? Beyond the writing, the meetings, the asking, the strategy, beyond all of that, the research, everything that goes into the actual work of fundraising and execution is advocating for your time internally. And you could argue, Julie, we shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to advocate for my time. I shouldn't have to tell my boss, hey, this actually isn't my job. I shouldn't have to tell my board, hey, look, doing another event is not going to bring in the ROI that you hope for. But the truth is, that's the way the cookie crumbles, babe. That's the way that it is. And the way that it is we do have to advocate for our time. And I can tell you, especially in the crunch time, I go to my boss in my one-on-one and I'm like, look, you're going to want me to go to these meetings. I'm not going to be there because you hired me to raise millions of dollars and that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to just excuse myself from 95% of internal meetings that I do not need to be at. And I reserve the right to decide if it's going to help me do my job or not. The lie that we believe is that we don't have any power and that we don't have any leverage. If you're effective at what you do, your board will be shit up a creek without you in that seat. If you're effective as a fundraiser, they will be in a heap of trouble if you up and leave. So if you actually are good at what you do, if you're effective and you raise money and you've made a difference for this organization, you have much more leverage than perhaps you're giving yourself credit for. What will they do if you leave in the next 3 months? I mean, play it out. Maybe they cannot see the future, but perhaps you can. Because if there is no gas in the car and it's not a Tesla, then it ain't moving. And without money coming in, the mission will not go forward. And so, what I would submit to you, it is your moral obligation to advocate for your time as a fundraiser. If you are being asked to do things that are not going to help you raise your goal, then it is your job to say, I am not available to do that. It's not going to help me raise money. Ruthless time management is what I'm proposing. And I practice what I preach here. I did this when I'm in house. I also do this as a consultant and as a coach. There are a lot of you listening or just people on the internet who are like, hey, I'd love to meet with you and pick your brain. I'd love to hear more about what you do. And I am not available for that because I am too busy serving my clients and helping them to succeed. I'm not available for you picking my brain because I have a mission. And my mission is to help my clients succeed and to get even better than I ever was. And they do. They do it all the time. And so you have to be laser focused on, is this going to help me reach my goal? If it isn't, cut it. Have a chat with the people on your team and let them know, hey, you might be used to meeting once a week with me. We're going to move it to once a month. And if you really need help, we can do an impromptu meeting. You can pick up the phone and call me anytime. But as far as these scheduled meetings, it ain't happening. I trust you. You don't need me to hold your hand, and go forward. If you need help, it's your responsibility to reach out. I got to raise this money. Some of you are meeting with people and you're babysitting. Like, you're a manager and you don't actually know what it looks like to be a healthy manager. You make excuses for people. You feel sorry for them. You pity them. And so as a result, you essentially shoulder a lot of the responsibility because they're incompetent. Is this too real for you? And so you actually need to put them on a performance improvement plan, and you need to let them go. If people can't be trusted to do their jobs without you holding their hand, then why are they on your team? The other piece is your board is full of ideas, but you don't know how to steer them in the right direction, and you don't have the influence to be able to have a voice with where you think the fundraising strategy should go. There's a lack of results. And so as a result of that, the board feels like they should have more say. They're inserting themselves into the fundraising, into the budget. What they really want is results. What they really want is leadership. And so you have to learn how to build your influence with your board, particularly if you are a CEO, a president, an executive director, and you don't want to do another event. You and your little team do not have time to do another event. That ain't going to cut it. And you know it, and I know it. And I've had so many people reach out to me about galas. They're like, yeah, so my board wants to do a gala. I don't. Our team doesn't. It's exhausting. We just don't have the capacity to do that. What's the data around this? So I did a cost breakdown, an evaluation of the cost. I did a whole podcast episode on that. Go back and listen to it. Share it with your board. So back to ruthless time management. You need to say no more often than you are now. If you do not have time, it is a question of what are you saying yes to that you must say no to in service of the mission. This isn't selfish. This is actually selfless. To say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm beholden to meeting my goal, and I know what it takes to meet my goal, and I am not going to be available for this. No one knows better what you need to do your job than you. You also need to get better at asking for help. So if you need people to weigh in on things, if you need a coach, if you need support, if you need training, healthy leaders and healthy people ask for what they need and want. They do not expect people to read their minds. There's nothing wrong with that. The people who likely you admire, who have achieved the results that you want, have invested more than you. They've invested their money in coaching and training. They've invested their time in learning and developing their skills. They've put a lot of work in, more work than you think. I can tell you, I have put in so much work into having the skills that I have to communicate, to lead, to coach people towards results. And the transformation that I see in just 6 months is a 180. There's a reason for that. I have put a lot of time and money and resources and effort into becoming the better version of me. It is not because I'm talented, it's because I'm hardworking. I want to be crystal clear about that. If there's anything that you admire about me, I have worked so hard. And if you knew how hard I worked, it might make you uncomfortable. You might say to me, Julie, you need to be a little bit more balanced. Julie, you need to have hobbies. And I would say, this is what I chose. These are my values. I value hard work. I value becoming the better version of me. I value those things. It's my prerogative. You can do it your way. But if you want the skills and if you want the results, you're going to have to put the work in. There's no way around that. That's the way it is. You need to be ruthless with time management. You need better boundaries. You need to say no. If meetings go over, you need to stop going over time and say, hey, I got to go. Hey, I got to go. Can you do that? Are you willing to do that? If there are things that you would love to do, but you don't have time to do them and they don't serve your goal, then you cannot do them. Either you're here to raise money or you're not. You're here to be a project manager. You're here to be an event planner. You're here to be a grant writer. If you're here to raise major gifts, then you need to make time for major gifts. Stop pretending to have a job that you don't actually have. If you really want to raise money, you got to make time for it. You need to get ruthless with your time management. Okay? And then the last one, and this one is huge. Assume the very best of your donors. Assume the very best of everyone, of your team, of yourself, of your board. Give people the benefit of the doubt. But as you're making a lot of asks, you're writing appeals, you're getting meetings, you're asking people to donate, assume the very best of them. This is what I call an abundance attitude. It's the attitude that people are at the core generous people, that they do care and that they will give and they'll give again and they'll give more if they can. When you adopt this mindset, you are no longer budgeting people's philanthropy for them. That's not your job. They did not hire you to budget their philanthropy. Get out of their wallet. It's not any of your business. And people ask me all the time, Julie, what do you think about wealth screens? Do you recommend wealth screens? What about a wealth engine? And I say, you know what? I'd rather talk to the donor and find out about their heart and their passion. The reason that you don't raise enough money sometimes is because you don't know what your organization means to the donor. Are you getting that? You think that they do this just for the tax write-off or because their buddy asked. And certainly there are donors who are like that. But your top donors, you may be their favorite nonprofit. This cause may be so personal to them that even if they have a cut in pay, even if they have financial hardship, even if something unexpected happens and a life event happens, they will not stop giving. And you don't know that because you haven't taken the time to ask them better questions. And so you think that they're doing this for different reasons. And as a result of that, you only ask for a tiny little increase. Hey, last year you gave 5,000. This year, would you consider giving 7,500? Listen up, babe. You cannot nickel and dime your way to raising your goal, can you? I don't think so. Ask for more. Assume that people are generous. Assume that they can give. Assume that they are passionate and all in. I mean, obviously, find out, like get to know people, get meetings, ask better questions, be genuinely curious, be interested in who they are and what makes them tick. Find out. For some of you, finding out is going to feel really intrusive. Like, what business is it of mine that I should even ask them these questions? Well, I'll tell you, you are raising money for this organization. You are a leader in the donor's life, and they are supporting what you're doing. They're voting with their money what they want to see more of. And that's your nonprofit. And so it is personal. This is an extension of their identity, of their values, of what they want to see more of in the world. If they didn't care, they wouldn't give. So extend the benefit of the doubt, find out who they are, get to know them, right? But go into all of these asks with that mindset, and the tone, the attitude will come across. Donors will feel your intention. When you believe that they're greedy and selfish and they don't care, they also feel that. So you decide the attitude that you take into this end of year fundraising season. You decide if you believe that people are going to step up or not. And that belief impacts the way that you behave. It's felt. It's felt by your community. And also, when you have a bad attitude, life just generally sucks more, right? I mean, you're not as having as much fun, you're not as effective, you're not enjoying your job. It's just a worse life experience to have a bad attitude. Like, it literally ruins your day, right? So fix that. Find within yourself genuine gratitude for these crazy people who give money away to nonprofits when they do not have to. They could do any number of things with their money, and they decide to give it to your organization. Do you know that there are people on this planet who don't give any money away to any nonprofits? Ever, at all. They exist. And you're related to them. They're like, what do you do again? What? Fundraising? Yuck. Right? They're like, I don't get it. I don't get what you do. Oh, grant writing. Okay, I think I get grant writing. It's like, yeah, this is a weird thing. Like, people being generous is a choice. And people do that. Let that sink in. People care enough to take time out to give their hard-earned money. And yes, it most likely is hard-earned. Somebody worked hard for it. I don't know if you know how money works, but like, usually there's work involved in getting it and keeping it. So most of your donors, it's hard-earned. And they're choosing to give it to you. Allow yourself to feel genuinely grateful that there are generous people in the world who care, and that they actually believe in your organization. And even more than that, they believe in you. They believe in your team. They're betting on your success. They're betting that you will win. You will do what you set out to do. You are the organization to get this done. That's what your donors are saying when they give. I would say most of the time. Sure, there are exceptions to that. Some people, I've raised money because I was so nervous and scared. And I think people gave just to get me out of their office and put me out of my misery. So, certainly, people give for all kinds of reasons, but it definitely comes across when you believe the best about someone. That's felt, right? Don't we feel it when people believe the worst about us? When they're condemning? I mean, talk about a repellent. And so you can decide to believe the best about people. And what I've found in my experience is that when I believe the best about them, they rise up to that. When I treat my board members like they're really generous, they rise up to that. When I meet with donors and I believe the very best about who they are, that they're actually good people who care deeply and they want to make a difference and they will do what they can to make a difference, that is felt and they rise up to that. That's what leadership is. You believe the best in someone and you call it out of them. You bring out the best in who they are and you lead them to activate that within them. That's what fundraising is. You are doing a holy thing. It is beautiful and powerful. It is a beautiful calling to invite people to become even more generous than they already are, to activate the latent generosity that is within them. You are calling it out. And your asks and your appeals are simply invitations for them to become the most generous version of themselves. It's not your job to play it safe, to hear only yes, to try to decide for them what is enough for them to give. That's not your business. That's their business. It's your job to stay focused on your goal and what you need to fulfill your mission, to communicate that, and to invite people to join you in the fight. That's it. And they have the agency to say, no, I can't do that. Or, you know what? I can't give 20K, but I can give 10. Whatever it is. It's not your job to jump in their wallet and decide, oh, no, you've given enough. That is a surefire way to stay in stress and to not raise your goal. Assume the very best of them and tell them. I do this all the time. I go to donors and I say, hey, Lindsay, I'm asking you to give because I perceive you to be a generous person. And I think this mission matters deeply to you. And that's why I'm coming to you and asking you to give $50,000 this year. When you see people and see the best in them and you call that out, your fundraising actually becomes encouragement for them. It becomes words of affirmation. It becomes a source of meaning and fulfillment in their life. That's how I see it. These are opportunities that I'm presenting to people. Meeting with me is a value add in their life. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, like I'm somehow better than them. I'm saying that I know and I've seen this play out for nearly 2 decades, that when you believe the best in others and you invite them to give generously, it is a gift in their life. They have more purpose and meaning and fulfillment and connection to community. They feel like a better person because they literally are. That's a gift to them. I want you to take that mindset and that attitude into the end of year giving season with you, and frankly, every day of the year. It feels better to just be that kind of person, to have that posture towards others. It's a better life experience. You're going to have more fun and enjoy your job more, and you're going to be more effective as a fundraiser. Who doesn't love winning, right? And it's actually true. People really are generous at the core. They just need opportunities and they need leadership to become more of who they were destined to be. That's how I see it. Generosity is inevitable. It's not luck. It's not chance. It's our reality, and we get to bring it to fruition. That's your job. That's your privilege and your honor to do. And next week on the pod, we're going to wrap up this series on end of year fundraising. And I am still going to be in Chicago. And thanks so much for listening. I'd love to hear from you if you've been a podcast listener, if this podcast has helped you to raise money. I want to hear from you. DM me on LinkedIn. And if you haven't, I'd love for you to subscribe and leave a review. That helps me to reach more people. There are so many of you who are avid listeners, or maybe you're new here and you're just discovering me. Welcome. Please leave a review. It helps me to reach even more nonprofit leaders like you who really need this free help and guidance and advice in raising money, particularly now where it's super challenging with lots of cuts in funding and lots of organizations not making it, frankly. People need help and support. So please leave a review, share this with someone, share it with a colleague, a friend, and let's help even more nonprofit fundraisers to exceed their goals this end of year giving season. Thanks so much. See you next time.